Even as Chuck Schumer voted against opening the government again, we all know what occurred behind the scene. There was the senators that are supporting the reopening the government they are not open for, or they're not up for re-election. And of course, as well, their economies would really be devastated by this thing going on much longer. And the truth is, that's an issue. You don't have to agree that it's not mutually exclusive to want Chuck Schumer ousted and at the same time support what many believe is a con to reopen the government. Being a progressive doesn't mean that we cannot change our mind. Being a progressive doesn't mean that we cannot seek the best of the worst or better options. Being a progressive means whatever we do, what we want is to ensure the progress of the people we work for. We want to ensure that people's lives get better. There are times when one can sacrifice and compromise, but there are also times that we have to be aware of who is actually doing the sacrifices. When there are progressives pushing hard, progressives that are comfortable, progressives that are financially well off and are not in the belly of the beast, to sacrifice for an outcome on the backs of others who themselves are asking that at this point they are unable to sacrifice. I think we've got to be very cognizant that a sort of obstinance by some of us in the progressive wing can actually be detrimental to the cause at large. And it can ultimately affect our own numbers in a large scale. I've been fighting for a long time. Do we end the shutdown or not? How do we end the shutdown? Was the shutdown worth it? I'll answer those questions after this, but I can tell you, after listening to the debate today, well, it wasn't a debate. 1 hour of Rachel Maddow, 1 hour of Lawrence O'Donnell. I think I've now made up my mind that, and again, like I said, progressives ought to be able to change their minds in order to make things better for most, while fighting for those who may not have been brought forward. I want you to listen to this from Lawrence O'Donnell, then we'll take it on the other side.
Well, in his first term, Donald Trump created the longest government shutdown in history. And now in his second term, Donald Trump has set the record again for the new longest government shutdown in history. The end of the government shutdown was forged when 5 Senate Democrats, and only 5, changed their position in a compromise that forced every Senate Republican to change their positions, while it also forced Donald Trump to change his position. And it has forced every Republican member of the House of Representatives to now change their positions. So this is 5 Democrats who changed their position, and 53 Republican senators, 217 Republican House members, and 1 Republican president, a total of 271 Republicans who changed their positions and are now supporting a version of a budget bill that they said they would never support. And 5 Democrats who changed their position to vote for that same bill, which was proposed by those 5 Democrats. So who caved here? What does caved mean? But this being Washington, the 5 changed votes on the Democratic side versus the 271 Republicans changing their position is being generally reported as the Democrats, meaning all of them, the Democrats abandoning their position, the Democrats caving, the Democrats losing the shutdown. Now, if we want to use the word cave in place of the word compromise, 271 Republicans, including Donald Trump, caved to just 5 Democrats. And what did those Democrats achieve? Well, those 5 Democrats forced Republicans, including Donald Trump, to agree to, first of all, they forced Donald Trump, who's been trying to stop funding supplemental nutrition assistance, to increase funding for food stamps. Increase it. That is not nothing. The 5 Democrats who changed their position managed to not just guarantee supplemental nutrition assistance funding for almost a year, but they actually got it increased. And no Republican wanted to do that. Donald Trump didn't want to do that. No Republicans wanted that. So they caved, if that's the word we're going to use, on that. The Republicans did. And all the Republicans are caving to that demand by those 5 Democrats for their votes. That's one of the things the 5 Democrats got for their votes. The 5 Democrats also obtained a guarantee to rehire every federal worker Donald Trump has fired during the government shutdown, every one of them. 4,000 people will get their jobs back, and they will get back pay because of this compromise that 5 Senate Democrats forced on 271 Republicans, including Donald Trump. The compromise also forces Donald Trump to deliver back pay to all federal workers, every one of them, affected by the Trump shutdown, something Donald Trump was trying to avoid. Donald Trump was trying to become the first president in history to deny back pay to every government worker affected by the shutdown. And those 5 Democratic senators got that back pay guaranteed. That is not nothing. They got something. They didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get everything. They didn't get the big thing. They got something. It should not be surprising that one of the 5 senators in this compromise is Tim Kaine of Virginia, where he represents one of the states with the most federal government workers per capita working in and around Washington, D.C. It should also not be surprising that both of the Democratic senators from Nevada joined the compromise that will avoid the airport nightmares that were looming in America for Thanksgiving and Christmas if the shutdown continues. Las Vegas, Nevada is completely dependent on reliable air traffic into Las Vegas to feed the local economy, the biggest economy in Nevada. Las Vegas has other problems now with Canadians boycotting tourism in America, but the airport nightmare was something that Nevada's Democratic senators decided after 40 days they simply could not abide. For people in government who care about how the government works and how the country runs, which does not include Donald Trump, people who care about that, including our air traffic control system, for them, government shutdowns are actually painful every day. They're not a stunt. They're not a tactic. They're not a strategic tactic. They are painful. Government shutdowns are full of pressure every day for people who care about this government actually running and running well.
Now, one of the questions that I pose is how do you end the shutdown? And was it worth it? And I tell you what, after watching Lawrence O'Donnell and thinking about it, I think Lawrence O'Donnell, in as much as he, I think, tipped me to the side of, yes, let's end the shutdown now, I think he missed an important point. He said he gave a list of things that came out of the shutdown. The back pay will be given to the workers. Well, if there was no shutdown in the first place, there would be no back pay that would be needed. So I don't count that one. That the only thing that I can say came out from a physical change in the Republican Party is exactly what he said. SNAP benefits increased. That is what you got from having a shutdown versus not having one. I can't see any of the other things being added to the ledger because, again, absent the shutdown, those workers wouldn't have been laid off. Absent the shutdown, all those issues. But where I think where Lawrence O'Donnell didn't put enough meat on the bones, if you will, for me, but that in reaching this point that I came to this conclusion is what it has done, the shutdown, to let people with the amount of things that Donald Trump and the Republicans did to show that they cared nothing about their own people, given that it's their people who are going to suffer more from the subsidies for the Obamacare. Their people will suffer more. It is their people who suffer the most from food stamps. When they went ahead and forced many states to say, simply do not give these people help while the government is shut down, they showed specifically their disdain for the poor and that they care nothing about those who need these services more, who in fact are a large percentage of the Republican base. So now they have given progressives, Democrats, and everybody the necessary outtakes that going forward, their own words coming out of their own mouths, their own words coming out of various emails and letters. The data is now there to present to MAGA, to present to those who support this fraudulent, evil government. The data is there to show, hey guys, we care about when you go to the grocery stores, telling it in story form. We care about you at the grocery store because we care about your employment because, and they don't. And you know why they don't? Because they are not for you. The ads are there to be written, and the shutdown, stopping the shutdown, letting folks know that maybe in as much as you didn't get the subsidies, the pain will be short-lived for 1 year. Some of you won't make it through that year, but remember whose fault is that? And we are going to now work, if elected, to ensure, to correct the evil done on you by the previous regime. So the two purposes of the shutdown: one, yes, there was more money given for SNAP. And two, we don't have to ask anymore whether Republicans support the poor and the middle class. MAGA and Republicans, they have told us in no uncertain terms that they care nothing about any of you who are poor, who are having a hard time. And if you decide to continue to support those who harm your children, those who harm your relatives, then it's on you.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's an investment that pays incalculable dividends.